Hello, everyone who might be watching this video today. My name is Revd Ann Alexander. I'm the vicar of St Albans Church in Gossops Green and Bewbush. This is in Crawley town, which is a town very close to Gatwick Airport. And our parish covers two of the neighbourhoods in Crawley, which are Gossops Green and Bewbush. And I'm here today to introduce our curate, who's been here for a year now and is getting ready to be priested at Michaelmas. And her name is Revd Lizzi Green, and here she is.
Hello. Oh my goodness, it does feel weird to say it's been a year. I am Lizzie. I am married to Sam. We have two children, Isaac and Ariella. We've come from Cambridge. I trained at Westcott House, where I'm just finishing off my master's degree. Yeah, which I think was probably the culmination of about 30 years of working out I wanted to be ordained. I think I first knew that God was calling me to be a priest when I was very, very young indeed. I was about 5 years old. So this feels like kind of coming full circle and a real completion, which is exciting. It's probably not been the first year of curacy that anybody expected. Obviously, there have been some significant challenges this year for all of us, and I think that's been a really interesting challenge for the whole church to work out what we do about how we become incarnation. How do we minister? How do we be incarnational ministers in lockdown when we can't actually see each other in order to be with each other?
Well, that leads me to our next question, which is, how has lockdown been for you in preparing for this?
It's been a very special time, as you can imagine, with two children. My husband, unfortunately, actually managed to get COVID just before lockdown happened, which means we've had an extra 2 weeks on top of everybody else's 100 days. So we're definitely feeling it. And in terms of ministry, it's been a challenge, as you can imagine, working around small children. It's been a really exciting and formational one. It's been one where it's been a real challenge to work out, I guess, the difference between doing things and being. So looking really kind of when those things that we do in ministry are removed, where we can't go to all the meetings, we can't be at the morning prayer, we can't do all the things, what actually is it that remains? What are we called to do? So that's been a really important thing for me, I think, a very formational time. And being something where I've been able to kind of really develop relationships with people in a very different way because we can't be together, and really kind of focus in on being with God and getting my nourishment and what comes from God.
Well, as for me, I mean, I think my thoughts about lockdown is it's been actually, there's been blessings as well as the awfulness of it. One of the things I think has been great, it's been a real learning curve. We've been forced to learn a lot about IT that we didn't know before and how to minister from a distance, which has been sort of, you know, very interesting and sometimes very, very good. I think our biggest challenge in the respect of lockdown is the uncertainty and the being unable to sort of plan ahead. We're used to planning always, and we're still in this space where it's like a liminal space that we can enjoy if we try, if we work at it, and make the most of it, make the most that we can. So, what are your hopes and concerns about what is ahead for the next 12 months?
Well, I think they're probably fairly connected to what you've just said, actually. I think, we've both talked about how one of the things from lockdown we've discovered is how we can kind of connect with people in a very new way. And we've discovered that although online services were an absolute learning curve for everybody, it's been something that's been a real blessing, and we've seen people connect with church that wouldn't have connected with church. We've seen people taking part in services that wouldn't have taken part in services, and that's been a huge blessing. And I guess that links to my hope, which is that's something that we can continue to build on the good stuff, that it wouldn't become a kind of, oh, thank goodness that's over and we just get on with things as normal, that we can really kind of work on those blessings and work out what that looks like going forwards. I think again my concern is probably linked to yours, and it's the not knowing quite what normal will ever look like, what the kind of things that we've always done will look like, how things look going forwards, and just not being able to have any certainty on that just yet.
Yes, for me too. Hopes are that we can continue to connect with all the new people that we have connected with during this time, which has been quite amazing, really. And my concerns are, I think so many people do expect things to it's just going to switch off and we're going to go back to normal as everything was before. But of course, it's not quite. There's going to be all sorts of differences in our lives going ahead over the next 12 months. So it's how we best serve during that time and be fruitful in our ministry. I think our concerns also about how our children are going to respond to the differences, knowing that a lot of children don't like change and so forth, but we'll go through the challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what single thing gives you hope for the future of Christianity in Britain?
Wow, that is a big question. Do you know, I think it's been very, very interesting in lockdown watching the way that people have connected with the church who wouldn't have connected. And we've said it in terms of our own church, but it's happening all over the country that people are tuning into services. You just have to be on Facebook on a Sunday morning and you can't really avoid it. So it's been very, very interesting to watch that kind of search for something beyond themselves in this difficult time. And I think that may be what gives me hope, that people are searching for something and that churches are trying as hard as they can to work out how to meet that. And we know that that's a very difficult thing, but we also know that we don't do it in our own strength. So that's quite an exciting thing, I think. I think that would be one of the biggest things that gives me hope.
Yes, well, I feel exactly the same. I think there's an awful lot to build on. And sometimes, out of crisis, out of chaos, comes something new. I mean, I always have in my mind Isaiah when God says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it?" So I think there's going to be promise of all sorts of new things ahead that we can build on. I think it's just opening up new challenges for us. So I'm very hopeful. I think it's going to be very, very good. So on to our final question is, how can we pray for you?
Oh gosh, I think the biggest prayer for me really is just wisdom and discernment in how I continue to minister and minister to my family as well, and how balancing those plates. That's sometimes quite a challenge. So I think, just how that works, and balancing all the different needs, I think would be great.
Yes, good. And for me, if anyone's willing to pray for me, I would just like to know and see the new things and how we might be creative and jump into the spaces that we need to jump into, and to be aware of them and see them and respond. So I think there's a good future ahead. And thank you very much, Lizzie.